Hey guys, today I wanted to share with you one of my favorite kind of pop songs to play on the nylon string guitar, classical guitar. And this is actually a cover by José González of the song Heartbeats, which is originally like kind of a Swedish electronica song. And it's really interesting because I think the guitar so often works at its best when it's trying to copy another instrument. It seems to be a big part of the guitar's identity that it's always trying to steal someone else's identity or copy the sound of the orchestra. And in this case, José González's version is kind of trying to copy some of the sounds in the original. There's this kind of really cool synthetic little groove. So something like this. And what José González does is he takes that and he plays it on guitar using this effect called campanella on guitar, where we have notes on different strings ringing over each other. And what that does, it creates this really cool kind of drone effect, as you hear the same note on two different strings. Sounds like the same note almost being played on two different instruments. So let's have a look at how he does it, and let's have a look at how the whole song is put together. First thing is the G string goes down to F sharp, so it becomes that note, and the low E string goes down to D. Once we've done that tuning, then we're going to put the capo on. And it's actually a much better idea to tune with the capo on. So with the capo on, we're tuning in F, C, G, E flat, B flat, and E flat. So the song really is in the key of E flat. Although we're going to forget that the capo is there. It's hard enough dealing with the different tuning. We're just going to forget about the capo altogether, and we're just going to think of ourselves in D with a drop D and an F sharp tuning. We're going to think of ourselves as being in the key of D major. We're going to think of the notes as being D, A, D, F sharp, B, and E. Before we go into the plucking of the individual notes, let's look at the biggest pattern of all. Let's look at the pattern of the whole song. Starts with the introduction, then it goes verse, chorus, bridge, which is the one part of the song that has a different pattern, different chords, and then one last repeat of the chorus to the ending, which is a slightly different ending of the chorus. So let's have a look at the verse and the chorus pattern, which is really the same pattern. It's got 3 chords only. The first chord is a D5 chord, like a D power chord, just 3 Ds, well actually 2 Ds, because that's the same D. So it's D, 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 and A. We finger it just like that. That comes for 2 bars. Then we have a B power chord, a B5 chord. So that's just B, F sharp, and B. And then we have a G major 7th chord. So that's G, D, D, and F sharp. And the singing comes in the middle of the bars. So if you wanted to start practicing singing it, or just to kind of hum along to get a feel for the overall structure of the piece, what you can do is strum the chord, and you'll see the singing comes inside the bar. One night to be confused, one night to speed up truth. We had a promise made, 4 hands and then away. Both under influence, we had divine sense to know what to say. Mind is a razor blade. So that's the first verse. And as you can see, the pattern is D, D, B, and G major 7. And that pattern comes twice in both verses, and it comes twice in the second chorus. In the first chorus, it only comes once. The first chorus is half as long as the second chorus. So now that you know the chords, let's have a look at what happens on each chord. So instead of just playing a D chord like that, there's a pattern that gets played. And the fingers keep a very strict orientation for most of the chords. That is, the ring finger hangs out on the B string, and the middle finger is going to play anything that happens on the G string. The index finger is going to play anything that happens on the D string, and the thumb is going to handle the lower 2 strings. No finger ever plays 2 semiquavers, 2 of the fastest notes in a row. The thumb plays on every quaver. In fact, if I just play the thumb notes, it sounds like this. And that's actually a great way to practice. So that's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add the index and the middle finger, and the index finger is going to be playing D, which is the same. It's the same note as the 5th fret on the 5th string. So you're going to get that mysterious sound of the same note being played 2 different ways. So that's the first bar. I'll run through it really slowly. It's 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Every time there's a D chord, that's what we play. Now D comes twice at the beginning of all the choruses and all the verses. Then we have this B chord. If I just play the thumb, which is always a good idea, it sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Steps down to take us towards the G major 7th chord, which is the last chord. So here's just the bass. And now I'm going to add in the other notes. So I'll do that just one more time, and you'll notice there's no finger note after the first bass note. So it's 1 and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and, if I count my way through. Then we come up here to the G major 7th chord. We have this pattern. So if we just run through that G major 7th chord with its pattern, I'll count it through in 16th notes. 1 and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. And that's exactly how that bar comes at the end of the introduction. Let me play the introduction for you, and you can just hear how those 4 chords sound together. So the introduction plays through the 4 bars of the verse, 2 bars of D, 1 bar of B, 1 bar of G major 7, and it repeats, comes twice. Then we have the verse, which is exactly the same. Now at the end of every verse, there's 2 verses, at the end of both verses, we land on this G major 7 chord, except instead of just playing it for 1 bar, it gets played for 1.5 bars. And it's almost like what happens is, instead of having these 4 beats, we have 2 new beats inserted right in the middle, just to make it a little bit longer. So instead of going 1 and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a, it goes like this. 1 and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a, and then it goes into the chorus. So it's like 1 bar of 6 beats. And the beginning and the end of it stay the same. Of course, if you're playing it, you don't have to do that. You can do whatever you like. The chorus is exactly the same as the introduction. And then after the chorus, we have a little interlude, which is just, again, the first 2 notes, 2 bars of the introduction. So just D major for 2 bars with no singing. Then we go into the second verse, which is again the pattern twice. At the end of the second verse, once again, we get stuck on that G major 7 chord before we go to this second chorus. And this time it actually gets extended into 2 bars. And what happens, instead of going, we just keep with this note, we keep with the D, and we just hang there. We don't even play the G again. So it sounds like this. We're just stretching out that chord. Again, if you want to count, 1 and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. So that's what happens at the end of the second verse. We go into the long chorus. This is the chorus where the singing gets a little bit higher the second time. First time it's to call for hands of above, to lean on. wouldn't be good enough for me, no. And then took off our hands of above to lean on, wouldn't be good enough for me, no. So at the end of the second chorus, we land once again on this G major 7th chord. We slide up to the 7th fret, and then we go into the bridge, which is the only place where we have different chords. We have this kind of A6 chord up at the 7th fret, and we have our G major 7th chords. There's actually only one new chord, and we have a new pattern, which is a simpler pattern. And that's the whole pattern. It's a half bar pattern. 1 and a 2 E and that's the pattern for the bridge. It comes twice in each bar. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and each chord comes for 2 bars. So that pattern, which is half a bar, comes 4 times. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and then we change to G major 7. You know, to practice singing it, it's great just to strum the chords, 1 per bar. And you knew the hand of the devil. Then it goes back to the A chord. And you kept us awake with wolf teeth, sharing different heartbeats in one night. And then it goes back to the B chord. So if I play that fast, it sounds like this. And that takes us down to the G major 7th chord. The G major 7th chord has the same pattern, except at the end we just play on the 5th string. We play the 5th fret, and we slide up to the 7th fret. We go back to that A6 chord. Then we have that bass note at the end, and we go back to the G major 7th chord. So it's 2 bars of A, 2 bars of G, 2 bars of A, 2 bars of G. And this time, again, we have a slightly different ending. The end for E and we have the open A and D strings, and that takes us to this B5, B power chord. And then it gets played, we stay on this chord for 2 bars, never happened before in the song. And this is kind of like the instrumental climax of the song that takes us back to the final repeat of the chorus. And in the case of these 2 bars, we have a new pattern. The thumb, just like before, is going to stay on the 5th string, but there's no hammer on. So the thumb's just going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the fingers actually climb up the string. So it looks something like this. Thumb, index, thumb, middle, thumb, ring and middle, thumb, middle, and then again thumb, index, thumb, middle. Now thumb, and then the ring and the middle finger on the top 2 strings, and the thumb and the index again. In the next bar, there's a little tune which comes in the fingers. I'm going to play it really slowly. It goes thumb, thumb, index, thumb, and now we play the middle finger on the 3rd string. We bring it out nice and loudly. Then thumb, index again. Then thumb, middle, but this time we put down finger 2 on fret 3 of the G string. And then once again the thumb and the index finger, and then the thumb and the B string with the ring finger, and then the open A string and the open D string, and that takes us back to the repeat of the chorus, back to that D major chord. So I'll just play that 1 and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1. If we count our way through, let me do it half the speed. 1 and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 is the first one of the final chorus. And then at the end of the final chorus, so the final chorus is a repeat of the second chorus. It's the 8 bars long chorus. And at the end of that, we just land on a D chord. I find this song quite hard to sing, so I do this crazy exercise before singing. You can try it. What I'm going to do is push the corners of my lips up, and I'm going to hum the tune while making my lips flap. It's called a lip trill. It sounds super weird. What it does is it programs your body to breathe out while you sing. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope it was useful for you. Please let us know in the comments. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet subscribed. We've got plenty of videos and we're making plenty more. Don't forget to strum on that like button, and when you subscribe, to ring the bell. And if you want tabs, we've got in-depth tabs for everything we create on our Patreon page. So that's patreon.com/altguitar.